Hi everyone, my name is Shazia Khan and the unit that we'll be doing today is Unit 24, which is Understanding and Leading Change. Now, firstly, we're going to go through the unit spec, which is available on Moodle for you to have a look at, and also the assignment brief, which I'll give you a brief outline of what it looks like so you can go on and have a look, because we'll do more about the assignment in the assignment discussion. So the unit is Understanding and Leading Change, and there are 4 learning outcomes for the unit, and we'll be doing 4 sessions plus an assignment discussion session, which will be around the assignment and give you guidance and support around that. So just going to go through quickly with the module spec and what is expected in this unit. So an introduction to the unit is a unit level 5, credit value 15, and the introduction to the unit is looking at change and adapting in business environment, how organizations changed and the variety of roles that are in the organization, and looking at different types of elements of change in regards to understanding the different types of scope of change, and also different triggers and drivers that are elements for change, like external or internal factors. We'll also be looking at applying a range of change management concepts, including diagnosing driving resisting forces and planning for change. And, you know, it'll be looking at change within an organizational business and the behavior. So that's an introduction into it. Learning outcomes we'll go through, and then we'll carry on with the first learning outcome today. So by the end of the unit, student will be able to produce a comparative analysis, learning outcome 1. Produce a comparative analysis of different types and drivers of change in business. Learning outcome 2, to evaluate the impact of change on organizational behavior. Learning outcome 3, to investigate how forces driving and resisting change influence leadership, decision making. And the final learning outcome 4, which is to recommend a range of leadership approaches to change initiatives. So essential content for each one, which I'll go through the first one because that's the main one we'll be doing, is producing comparative analysis of different types of drivers and change in business. And I'll go through that in more detail when we're looking at learning outcome 2. We've got that for learning outcome 1. For learning outcome 2, we've got the element of change in organizational behavior. Learning outcome 3, more indicative content in more detail, and learning outcome 4, again in more detail. And we'll be looking at elements of learning outcomes and the assessment criteria. So for learning outcome 1, to produce a comparative analysis of different types and drivers of change in business. And we'll be looking at P1, which is reviewing a range of contemporary examples, P2 and M1 and D1. Hi, Keith, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so we're looking at the unit specification and what is expected of you in the unit. So I've recorded most of it. So the unit is Understanding and Leading Change. We've got 4 learning outcomes. All this is available on Moodle for you. And my name is Shazia Khan, okay, if you have any questions to ask. So the learning outcome we'll be doing today is learning outcome 1, which is to produce a comparative analysis of different types and drivers of change in business. There's 4 learning outcomes for this unit, and 1 assignment discussion. This is available, this is the module specification, and it's available on Moodle for you. And this is the learning outcomes and assessment criteria for each learning outcome, what is expected, what you can get, for example, a pass, merit or distinction, and what you are expected to do to get that. So for learning outcome 1, what you are expected to do. So to get a P1, review a range of contemporary examples of organizational change and their impact on business operations. To get a P2, compare drivers for change and their influence on organisational change. To get a merit, an M1, you need to analyse drivers for change and the types of organisational change and they have affected. So these, you'll get a lot of this when we've done all the learning outcomes, so you'll get elements of that. And for D1, for learning outcome 1 and 2, make justified recommendations that would minimize impact of organizational change on organizational behavior. In learning outcome 2, to evaluate the impact of change on organizational behavior, you have P3, which will look at analyzing how leadership and individual behavior in organizations can be affected by change. And P4, evaluate measures that can be taken to minimize negative impacts of change on organizational behavior. And then M2, critically evaluate the long-term implications. And then you've got the same for learning outcome 3, where you've got P5 to look at investigating the forces for and against change and how they affect leadership and change and decision-making in an organisation. And to get a merit, which is M3 for learning outcome 3, you need to apply force field analysis to both driving and resisting forces to show how they influence decision-making in organizations. And for LO, learning outcome 3 and learning outcome 4, to get a distinction, you need to critically analyze different leadership approaches and models in relation to the drivers and resisting forces. And for learning outcome 4, you have P6, which is to recommend change, leadership and approaches and models to change initiatives for given situations. And to get a merit, analyze the use and leadership approaches and models for given situations. Now, this will be looked at more when it comes to doing your assignment discussion and what is expected of you if you want to gain a pass, merit or distinction. Some recommended resources there, some textbooks and websites that you could use to help you, and some links there that could help you complete the assignment and look at the unit. Okay, so this is the module specification, and this is available on Moodle. I'll quickly show you, Keith, the assignment briefs. They are on Moodle for you if you want to have a look at them. There's 2 parts. There's assignment 1 and assignment 2. Okay, and the first assignment is, this is how it looks. I'm not going to go through it in detail because we're going to go through it when we do the assignment discussion. So this is assignment 1. Can you see this, Keith?
I can see.
Yeah, so this is assignment 1 where you get a case study. It gives you general information. It gives you the reading list, and then it gives you the tasks. So you have a scenario, a case study, and you've got to analyze that case study, read around that, which we'll go through when it comes to doing the assignment discussion. And you will have questions that you will have to answer, which is this here. These are the questions related to the scenario, and you need to answer these. There's 7 parts to it, and it's 2,500. So that's assignment 1. It gives you the learning and outcomes criteria, which we went through, that you need to get for learning outcome 1 and 2. And then it gives you general assessment advice, which we'll go through when it comes to it. The second assignment, which is, I'll just go through the second bit of the assignment. So there's 2 assignments. There's part 1 and part 2. There's 1 and 2, okay? And the second bit of the assignment is this. So this is assignment 2 of 2. And again, you've got a scenario that you need to refer to. The one that you did in the last one, it's 2,000 words. And you need to be looking at learning outcome 3 and 4, and you need to be looking at 5 parts of it. So what we'll do is, when it comes to the assignment, I just wanted to show you how they look so that when you go onto Moodle, you're able to identify what they look like, okay? So these are available on Moodle for you and your module specification. Have you got any questions around that?
No question.
Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll go into the learning outcome, which is learning outcome 1, and we've got to do that now, and then tomorrow learning outcome 2. So we'll go through learning outcome 1. Can you see the slides, Keith?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, just 1 minute. So when we look at change, okay, there's different types of change that happens within an organization. And, it's important that we have change because each organization works differently with change. And, each organization has its own elements of it. And, change comes about in regards to why do you think there's so much change within an organization? Why do you think we have change?
Improve efficiency.
Sorry?
Improve work efficiency.
Yeah, for efficiency to make it more efficient. So we'll be looking at learning outcome 1 today, which is to produce a comparative analysis of different types of drivers of change in business. And we'll be looking at the unit aim is to look at change is constant in life. So whatever position you're in an industry or you're employed, a business needs to adapt to change, and a business needs to be adapting to change every time an environment changes. So organizations see sometimes a rapid change, and it could be technology, it could be the element of, the structure of the organization. In business, change is all around in all areas of organizations, from minor process changes to large-scale structural change. The aim of this unit is to make students understand the different types of scope of change that may occur in an organization, and the unit will illustrate the drivers, triggers, and change and how they vary affect organizations, including the degree of impact and management response. And students will gain appreciation of impact and management response to change, and you will be able to have an in-depth what influences change. What is sometimes there's external factors, sometimes there's internal factors that influence the element of change and why it comes about within an organization. So it's really important to understand that. On successful completion of the unit, students will be able to apply a range of change management concepts, including diagnosing driving resisting forces, planning for change, and dealing with change in organizational settings. This will put students in a strong position to contribute to change initiatives in the workplace. So the learning outcome for learning outcome 1, the indicative content, is that we look at types of organizational change. So what are the different types of organizational change? We'll look at that. We look at change in contexts, including large scale change. What is, if it's on a large scale or if it's on a small scale as well. We'll look at elements of that and how that impacts on an organization. And we look at different types of change, including planned or emergent change, initiated or imposed change. We look at types of internal organizational change, structural, strategic, people and process change, individual, group and organizational levels of change, and we look at drivers of change. So there could be internal factors and external factors. We look at the PESTLE, core competencies, and to include identification and selection of the most significant drivers in each context. We look at the impact of technology, including mobile devices, cloud computer, artificial intelligence, AI, which is playing actually a very big part in an organization nowadays is AI, and it does play a big, huge part in how an organization is structured, how an organization is run. The organizational change has a significant impact, and it could be AI has a big impact on organizations now, and the digital transformation of organization and the change of business model. So the key terminology, so what is change? Why is there a need for change? Change is really important, in any organization, and effective leaders are able to, recognize that there's a need for change. It could make someone or something different after or modified. It could replace something. And change management is a systematic approach to dealing with transitioning. So like I said, if an organization wants to change or needs a transition, it would go through a change management. Organizational change refers to actions in where a company alters a major component of the organization, maybe technology, maybe, it may be that they need to make a difference within the workplace. It may be external factors, it may be internal factors. So this is a video on change within an organization, or cultural change and things. You can have a look at that in your own time, Keith. And this video looks at the different elements of change. So when we look at organizational change, there are different types of organizational changes. You have strategic change, which is an element of organization that includes like changes in business policies, structure, or any sort of processes. You have structural change, and that could be includes shifts in management, the hierarchy, the teams. It could be responsibilities of different departments changing, change of command. It could be job structures changing. So there are different elements of that. Then you have another one, which is cultural change, which could be an element of changing the shared beliefs, values, and behaviors of that organization. Another one is technological change, which is quite a big one and involves changing of new software or any new system that's coming into play to improve the business. And then you have process change, which is improving or redesigning the existing business to increase efficiency and reduce waste or improve quality. And then finally, people changes to the workforce is really important. People change, the workforce changes. So these are types of organizational changes. Changes in business context, including large-scale changes and small-scale changes. What could be a large-scale change in an organization? What do you think could be a large-scale change in an organization? Keith, what do you think could be a large-scale?
A large, a large scale trade.
Yeah. What about if you need to invest more in training for your employers?
Sorry?
If an organization needs to get their employers to I get some new skills, and they need to get everyone to have the same skills, could that be the large scale, because everyone needs to be trained in a certain way?
Yeah.
Or could it be things like it could be changes to can change, if there's an organizational change, a radical change in the organization could be a large scale organizational change. It could be things like more employers are needed because of more work coming in. Radical change is change that's a complete overhaul of the business, and it comes in, and this is a high risk because you're changing just like that straight away. And then you've got discontinuous change, and this change involves a break from the past and a shift to fundamentally different doing business. And this is normally done by external factors. And revolutionary change involves a complete transformation. Maybe a new product's being introduced, maybe there's any sort of disruption within the business model that needs changing, that obviously impacts on change that's needed. And then you've got small scale changes. What could be small scale changes?
Small scale changes like would be like renovation of the offices.
Yeah, yeah. What else?
Uh, uh, uh,
Could it be, could it be things like maybe, a change in products?
products, oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe, some, evolution change involves like continuous improvements in products and processes over time, slowly, small change, not a huge amount of change. So that's small scale change. Then we've got different types of change that include planned, emergent, initiated, or imposed. So another way to categorize types of change in a business is whether they are planned or emergent, initiated, or imposed. So planned changes, when we look at planned changes, are these changes already planned, as in prepared?
Yes.
So do organizations plan this in advance? They know what they're doing, they have the process of, the entire organization having new goals and new directions for planned change, so they do know that what they want to do, and this planned change has been, one of the company's culture, but it's also been something that's been, that they have already planned in place. Then you have advantages of planned change include greater control over the change process. So the individuals have greater change over their process. And disadvantages includes the potential for resistance from employees or stakeholders. Some people don't like it, planned change, and some stakeholders and shareholders don't like that. Emergent change. What do you think emergent change is?
Margin change. What could I have no idea.
So emergent change is involves unplanned or unexpected changes. Okay, so these are unplanned changes, and these can be they deal with contingencies, breakdowns or opportunities in everyday life. So they are based on assumptions, and they're open-ended and unpredictable. So they are something that's, it may be something, it may be not expected, it may be internal or external factors that emerge, have to start, looking at emergent change. So, you need to bear in mind that it may be internal, it may be something out of your control as an organization, but it may be something that internal or external organizations want you to do. Advantages of emergent. Advantages of emergent change may include the ability to respond quickly to circumstances, the potential for creative solutions to emerge, and the potential opportunity to learn from unexpected outcomes. Disadvantages change include the potential for chaos or confusion, a lack of stakeholder engagement or buy-in, and the risk of change being unsustainable or unsupported in the long term. Then we've got initiated change. And this is change involves changes that are driven by internal stakeholders such as management or employees or shareholders. And the change is motivated by a desire to improve processes and make it more effective. Advantages of initiated change include the potential for greater stakeholder engagement and ownership, and a higher likelihood of sustained change and the opportunity for internal innovation. Disadvantages of initiated change include the potential for resistance, again, from stakeholders or other departments. Imposed change, and this is imposed upon you, as it says, it's imposed change. It's changes by external factors. So it could be, government regulations, it could be technology, it could be something that's imposed on you that you need to comply with. So it might be a change in the law, it may be things that are imposed on you that, from an external org that you need to comply with to try to respond to competitive pressures. So advantages of imposed change include the potential for improved compliance, and alignment with external requirements or clear sense of urgency or change. So there's a need from external organization. Maybe the law's changed. Maybe there's a need for, trying to identify that these changes are important and need to come into place. Advantages of imposed change include the potential for improved compliance and alignment with external regulations, and a clear sense of urgency or need to change, and the opportunity to learn from external expertise or practices. Disadvantages include the potential for resistance, again, from internal stakeholders, a lack of control over the change process, and the possibility of change being incompatible with internal priorities or capabilities. Now we're going to go on types of internal organizational and structural, strategic, people and process change. So structural change involves modification, in regards to elements of the structure of the organization. So it could be the hierarchy, it could be the change, in the element of, there could be a shift in the way the industry or the market functions. And it could be driven by factors such as technology, it could be geopolitical conflict, natural disasters, anything like that. And it could be a shift from, one element of improving efficiency and enhancing communication. Then you've got strategic change, which we went through a little bit earlier as well. And strategic change will be to modify an organization's overall direction, their vision, what their values are, and strategically change them. People change involves modification of culture, behavior. It could be management, could that be people change, be a new management come into place? Keith?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it could be a new management come into place, a new management system come into place, new training is needed, employee engagement initiatives needed. And then process change involves like modification of business processes, decisions are made and how resources are allocated. So again, technology plays a big part in this, implementing new technology, new software, new project management. And it's really, really important because all these are interconnected to each other and work together to help each other. Individual, group, and organizational levels of change. Individual level change. What do you think individual level change is?
A personal change.
What was that? Personal transformation. Yeah, you're right.
I said personal change.
Yeah, personal change. So it's an individual change. It could be the modification of skills. They need to contribute more to effective change. It could be that you want to adjust and thrive and make your skills better. So acquiring new skills, adapting to new perspectives, and through personal development. So it could be coaching, it could be training, it could be your CPD, It's really, really important that personal change, individual change plays a big part in it. Then you have group level change, and this refers to members of the team and their relationship, focusing on people that work effectively together. And this could be, changes in the workflow, work design, the communication patterns, the structure of the team, improving communication, making sure there's effective implementation of change at group level to overcome any sort of individual level resistance, and making sure that the changes are in place in regards to the group rather than an individual. Then you've got organizational level change, and that is through the organizational level change. And it is really important to have organizational level change because it impacts on the identifying the employers and the groups, and referring to change in the structure, change in the process. It could be change in technology, and these it could be implementing new technology, and it could be things like evaluating change and initiatives. And you know, it is really important when we look at change to bring in these changes. Why do you think, Keith, it's so important to bring in these kind of changes?
To improve the company or the business.
Yeah, to improve your business. You know, if changes are not brought about, is the business more efficient? No, you need to make sure that, you know, changes are in place so that businesses, you know, are developing more, and, you know, there's a need for these kind of changes, because with effective change, you know, your management, your business will run smoothly, and employers will learn new technology faster, and new processes that come in place. So the table here is looked at individual, group, and organizational. So the definition for individual is personal transformation or modification of behavior, skills, and attitude. The examples is, as we mentioned, acquiring new skills, changing habits, adopting new perspectives. For group, is modification of relationships and interactions between members of a team or department. And then improving examples are improving communication, enhancing collaboration, restructuring teams. And the operational level of change is changes in the organization strategy, structure, processes, culture, and system. And the examples, implementing new technology, restructuring the organization, and changing the organizational culture. So that table just gives you a little bit of an overview. So drivers of change, and this is really important. There's certain drivers of change that, you know, within an organization that impacts on the, you know, on the actual organization itself. You know, you could have different drivers of, you know, change within a business. You can have elements of technology. You know, that's a big element of change, you know, that, you know, technology is changing. You get new software, adapting to new productivity. It could be economic changes as well. You know, there could be economic changes. It could be things like changes in economic conditions, market trends. It could be elements of, you know, social and demographic, so changes in cultural values, demographic changes. It could be elements of political and legal as well. So these are elements that will impact on an organization and how they change. It could be elements of environmental. So, you know, drivers of change could be environmental changes, you know, the fact that and the environment is changing, the fact that there's elements of political and, sorry, changes in the environment, and it could be climate change, natural resources. It could be elements of adoption of sustainable practices. So these changes come about within an industry to impact on it. And there's a need for these changes to come about because, you know, there's different changes and different ones. So the element of the other one is competitive. And that's a big element of change because, you know, competition is a big thing within, you know, it could be external competition. It could be, you know, the fact that there's other elements of other organizations, you know, trying to compete with your product. So, you know, that could be industrial, you know, competition or a new market players driving to implement any sort of changes. And then you've got organizational changes as well. And that can be changes in internal operations, leadership and strategy. So it could be mergers, acquisitions, reorganization, leadership changes, strategic skills. So it could be significant changes in organizational adjustments. We've got internal and external drivers of change, and PESTLE core competencies to include identification and selection of most significant drivers in the context. So you've got internal ones, and these change that originate within the organization. So that's internal stuff. And you then have external ones, which are changes outside of the organization. So it could be political, economical, social, cultural, technology, legal, or environmental factors. And then you have PESTLE, which we'll look at in a little bit. So it's an analytical framework used to assess the external drivers of the change: political, economic, social, cultural, technological, legal, and environmental factors. And then you have core competencies as well. And that could be elements of a framework used to assess internal drivers of change. So unique strengths given an organization. So, you know, the element of trying to make sure that the organization refers to elements of change. And then, you know, in regards to that, you have the element of the PESTLE, which is we'll look at now is an analysis study that businesses looks at key external factors, like we mentioned, political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental, that influence an organization. They can be used in a range of different scenarios and guide professionals to in strategic management decisions. So, you know, the PESTLE really works well, you know, for organizations. And it is a heavy tool that is used by most businesses to help them, you know, to identify how to analyze strategically any organizational elements of it. So you've got the PESTLE, which is the first one is political, which is factors may be altered by government's influence on a country's infrastructure. That could be taxes and things like that. Economic, which is factors include economic growth, interest rates, exchange rates, wage rates, working hours, etc. The S in PESTLE is factors include cultural aspects, health and safety, conscious growth rate, and various demographics. And then technological factors that change within technology, so innovation, your own technology, transferable skills. And then legal factors include the law, which is a huge part of it, you know, that you need to look at elements of changes in the law. And environmental, so factors include an awareness of climate change or seasonal or, you know, variations or any sort of elements of change in regards to that. So this is looking at the PESTLE, and, you know, it's really important for organizations to use this to determine any sort of strategic management changes that they need to put in place. So the impact of technologies, including mobile phones, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, data analysis, and the on the change of the drivers. So why do you think, when we look at technology and the impact of technology on an organization, do you think it plays a big role? Keith, do you think it plays a big role in organizational change?
Yes, it plays a big role.
So the impact of technology, do you think it plays a big role within an organization? Especially now we've got AI. Do you think that plays a big role? I think organizations changed as technology comes into place. Mobile phones have come into place. There's an increased speed of change, you know, with devices. Everyone's got devices, and companies use mobile phone apps to do things. They use AI to do things. So there's a lot of, you know, change that's come, and that is there's an increased speed. And because of AI, it's come quite quick, you know, where people are using AI to do certain things. They're using it as a resource. Disruptive innovation, so technology as again, such as AI, led to disruptive innovations in various industries. For example, AI-powered chatbots and transforming customers. Yeah, AI, there are benefits of AI, but there are also, you know, disadvantages of AI, which, you know, it impacted on the businesses itself. Increased automation. So the rise of automation technologies such as robotics and AI is driving changes into the workforce, and some becoming absolute and reliant on these, you know, data analysis and AI. People are becoming quite reliant on these, and that's quite worrying, to be honest, because the impact has a big impact on businesses. Increased efficiency. So technologies as cloud computing and analytics are enabling organizations to streamline and improve. So there are advantages and disadvantages of both these. It's not just it has a disadvantage because, it also improves accuracy in data analysis and things. New business models, so technologies such as mobile devices and cloud are enabling new business models to emerge, such as the sharing of and economy. For example, ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft have disrupted the taxi industry. Uh, they've got a big impact on it, because everyone is using Uber. Uber is the big thing now, and through apps and things, people are relying on that. So the digital transformation and the organizational, the change of business models. So digital transformation refers to the process of using digital, the digital elements of, technology, and how it's changing is had a big impact on organization and businesses. And it's in the integration of digital technologies in all areas of business, fundamentally changing how they operate and deliver value to customers. It's also a cultural change and requires organizations to continually challenge the status quo, experiment, and get comfortable with failures. So, it is a process that modifies and creates new things for businesses. So the digitalization transformation of organization can impact business models in several ways. Firstly, the new revenue streams. So digital technology enables organizations to create new ways of getting revenue streams. For example, a retailer may leverage digital technologies to create an online marketplace, or a software company to develop subscription-based service. And that's happening quite a lot. It could be TikTok, it could be Instagram, but these kind of things are happening quite a lot. And the whole point of this is to reduce operating expenses and efficiency, and to get the business ongoing. Improve customer experience. Now, this is a big thing because digitalization plays a big part in any organization, and it changes the concept of improving customer satisfaction. And for example, for banks to have the digital apps for customers is a good thing, because it makes sure that customers are engaging and using the app to look at their financial side of it. So it's really good to have that in places. But there are, like we said, pros and cons of both. Data-driven insights. So digital technologies can enable organizations to gather and analyze large amounts of data. For example, retailer may look at data analytics to gain insight into customer behavior, and it may be looking at marketing campaigns. And operational efficiencies, it's a part of the digitalization transformation is to improve overall efficiency and to make sure that business processes and costs are efficient, and to make sure they're improving productivity and efficiency. Overall, the digitalization transformation is driving significant change in business models, enabling organizations to create new revenue streams, to improve the customer gain and gain-driven insights, and improve operational efficiency. So Keith, do you think that, the digitalization transformation has a big impact on businesses?
Yes, it does.
Do you think do you think it's good to have all these changes in place?
Yes.
Why do you think it's different? Why do you think it's a good thing to have all these changes in place? Do you think it's there to make the business more efficient, the business model, and, get more customers, and, make, because, it improves efficiency and productivity? And
Yes.
yeah, and
Yes,
also,
it helps the business grow.
yeah, and also these change in management and all these strategies and these new technologies is part of, the drivers of change, and, the type of organizational change that is needed. As society is changing, these technology and transformations are needed, because, society is becoming more technology based. Everyone wants to use AI even though, you know, some parts of it are good and some for organizations is not good, but people want to use that. So we've finished learning outcome 1 now on the unit understanding and leading change. I'll just give you a quick summary of what we've gone through. So we've looked at the different types of organizational change in learning outcome 1. We've looked at large scale change, small scale change, revolutionary, incremental. We've looked at the different types of change that include planned or emergent, initiated or imposed. We also looked at the different types of organizational change, structural, strategic, people, and the process change. We looked at individual change, group change, and organizational levels of change. And we looked at the different drivers of change as well. We looked at internal and external factors. And we also looked at PESTLE and looked at what PESTLE meant in regards to using an organization. We also looked at the impact of technology, which plays a big impact on an organization or a business, and including things like mobile devices, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, data analytics, and the speed of change and the driver of change. We also looked at a big part of a business organization, as we mentioned, is the digital transformation of organizations and the change of business models and how that impacts on businesses. You know, if we have digital technologies in place and how they impact on customers, businesses, and how they improve efficiency and effectiveness of a business. So that's just an overview of what we've done in today's session. Have you got any questions, Keith, about today's session?
No question.
So this is recorded and it's all on Moodle for you, Keith, okay, with everything else. These are the resources we've used, some of the references that you can refer to that we've used for today's session, and they will give you a little bit of an overview. They are ebooks and additional reading on Moodle that you can go on for this unit. Also, the additional ebooks and additional journals on Moodle. And if you have any questions or anything, email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. Submission of the assignment will be discussed later on, is through learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk, and it's 2 weeks after we finish the unit. So the next learning outcome we'll be doing, we finished learning outcome 1 now. The next learning outcome is tomorrow. We'll be doing at 9:30, and it's learning outcome 2. Have you got any questions, Keith, before we finish the session?
No question.
Thank you. And also thank you for attending today's session, Keith, and I'll see you in tomorrow's session. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Have a good day.